sexuality like adults without it being taboo or negative or morphed into something that it's not, because there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with that and who take it and they twist it. And I don't want this to be long. I don't really know what I'm going to say. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my viewpoint. That's all I can do. So, my filter, as far as speaking about sexuality goes, is there's not much filter. You know, I'm the one who's, all right, so you have Aunt Gertie. Aunt Gertie, you know, goes to church every Sunday, and she's very black and white, right and wrong. And then you get Aunt Gertie and her favorite bottle of wine that she just finished on a bridge night with the girls, and you're the sober driver to get her home. Aunt Gertie's filter is not really the same, even though in normal land on her days she may be, oh, holy and mighty. Okay, so now Aunt Gertie's got a dirty mouth. I'm Aunt Gertie's chaperone. I need to handle Aunt Gertie in drunk mode from a sober perspective. So, you know, that's my filter. So I don't hold back what I say, because usually people are in a place where they're a little more open to all the things that are usually festering inside them that they don't express so well otherwise. That's the time when they can let them out. So that's when I deal with them. That's why I'm good with expressing myself. Now, how do I reach this balance with sexuality and having it, you know, because you can go to a museum and see naked women and beautiful art, and you can go to the ballet and a modern dance studio and see a couple on the stage portraying a sexual act in an artistic, dense nature, and that's beautiful. But, you know, you go to a strip club and you see a girl grinding in on a pole. Now that's bad. Bad. Where's the balance between that? Why isn't it okay just to express what you have? So, you know, I notice when I do some of my videos, I just go through 20 songs at a time, hit record on all of them, totally forget what I do until later. So, I don't know. Sometimes when I see it back, I mean, I'm in the moment. So, you know, I'm a healthy, sexual woman who's completely comfortable with herself. So if I'm doing a freestyle dance with my baton, and that moment takes me to a place that can be perceived by somebody else as being a little too sexual, a little too much. I mean, that they're entitled. I don't know where they're coming from with expressing themselves. You know, there are plenty of people who have wives and children and then go to the dungeon at night because they secretly like to be spanked because they're afraid to speak with their actual wife about this weird thing they have with dominance or power or whatever, and instead of being comfortable with the person they're supposed to be the most open with and expressing that, they make it a secret and a lie, and then it's dirty and hidden and wrong. Not that the act is wrong, the way that they go about it and the intent perhaps is not the most honest. So why can't we just be more open with expressing who we are? You know, we should be taught from an early age how sex is completely normal and healthy, how to have integrity with it, what to know what's coming up, and not to portray things as bad. It should be educational. It should be educational. You know, everyone's going to have their own experiences with that. Hopefully more people have good ones, but I've found that people spew a lot of stories at me. Not just in my life, but, even behind the bar, you know? So not everyone comes from a good place with their upbringing or the way that they were taught or their experiences. But you can always have consciousness where you are now and then try to change that. I mean, communication is key. So, how do I not apologize for expressing myself perhaps when I dance in a way that might be a little more sexual in a moment, because that moment brought me there, without it being portrayed as someone else's, oh my God, she's grinding on the pole. I mean, not that there's something wrong with that. That's an expression too. It's all expression. Either way, it should be okay. You can see Miley Cyrus wearing a little piece of latex, grinding up against a thing, programming everybody in the world to believe whatever the intention to be programmed is that day. And that's done by Disney, or she came from Disney, and that's okay. Perfectly okay. Now, personally, I've had a many-year dry spell with expressing my sexuality. So maybe I need to get out a little of my aggression, my creativity through my dancing or the way I express myself or whatever that is. It's still healthy. You can still be completely honest with how you feel and where you're coming from. You have to learn. If you're with somebody, you have to learn who they are and what they want. And if you can't talk about it, you shouldn't be doing it. You're not even doing it, you're just discussing it. Is it that bad that you can't talk about it? So many people think they can talk about it and that's healthy, but then they're actually not okay with it. They get very weirded out. So we gotta get rid of the weird and the dogma and the judgment behind it all. So it's that balance thing. So you can't just, it's not diving into the dark. It's just not ignoring it. You need to understand it. You need to look at it so you're, not taken advantage of. You can't just pretend that the negativity doesn't exist, but you have to first make a conscious awareness of it so that it can be changed. And you can grow from it. So, so I guess that's it. Sexuality, expressing it, through healthy means. We are all human. We are all part animal, maybe part divine. We're all human. That part of us is in our nature. So, tackling it so that it's not put on a pedestal of good or bad. It just is. So, there are ways to adapt to this to make it personal for you and make it okay and make it so that, not everyone's going to be comfortable doing the same thing. Hopefully like attracts like, and you will find yourself with someone who's able to express themselves in a means that you can feel comfortable with. Not everybody expresses love the same way. Somebody might always make you dinner and always do things, but they never say I love you. Or they never give you a hug or physical touch. And now say the other person they're with just expects dinner because you're with them. And then they really just sometimes need you to reach out and give them a hug. It's not that there's no love being expressed. The one making the dinner is expressing the love in their way. And say the other person always expresses theirs through touch or involving the person in what they're doing or whatever it means, You have to understand the way the people you're with express themselves. It might not be the same way as you, and that is okay. But if we can all have a better understanding that maybe there are different ways of expression, and then hopefully if the person's in your life and you care enough about them, you can take note and consciousness of it, and then maybe try a little harder to express the love in the means that helps them or understand it. But you can't do that unless you talk about it. You know, if the other person doesn't know what you need so that you feel better, or you understand things more, or you feel like your perspective is heard, you know, they can't just, you can't assume that they can just do it. So you have to be open to discussing this like adults, not blaming, not saying, well, you always do this, or you always do that. Saying, put it on yourself. Like, I sometimes feel a little sad when you do this particular thing, because I feel like you're not understanding that I'm doing blah, blah, blah. You're not making it about to be, every time you do this, I feel like that. It's not about that. Don't blame. Just take that situation, that particular situation, and make it come from your perspective, so that maybe that's not being seen by the other person. You just don't see it. So say it. But also listen. Don't have somebody express themselves and you're just sitting there waiting to jump in and defend. And, you know, that's usually me. I have a billion things going in my head at once. So listening is key, and it is important. You have to be willing to speak. But sometimes people don't really want a solution. Sometimes people, Mannix wants to say hello. Right, Mannix. Sometimes people just want to be heard. They just want to know there's a person out there that gives a shit enough to just listen and let them get it out. That's probably coming from more of a woman's perspective. So tip to men. Sometimes when your girl comes home and she wants to vent, and you're like, oh my God, this girl just wants to talk. I don't want to hear her talk. She doesn't want you to fix it. She doesn't want you to analyze it, so don't rack your brain thinking she needs you to do all so much. She doesn't always need a Prince Charming or a savior. Sometimes she just needs an ear, and to know that there's somebody out there that just cares enough about her to listen. And then that's it. And then it's out and it's done and they feel better. And you did everything you needed to do. And then you can give her a hug. Right? So, be more open with the people around you. Don't let true feelings sit inside and fester. Don't be one of those people that waits until they're bored out of their mind with the person that they've spent years with, because they never wanted to mention the fact that they like to put on tutus or whatever. I mean, most likely the person with them is the one person in their life that's going to understand that. And weird or not, if you don't mention it, you never know if they're willing to do it. So be weird with, you know, the one you trust, because intimacy is opening up your heart enough to see that vulnerability can be strong. Humbleness can be strong. And allowing yourself the freedom to express that can make you stronger than you'd ever believe. So if you have a person in your life you feel comfortable enough to open up to about who you are and what makes you feel good and what makes you passionate as a human, if you have that in your life,